Today we're going to be doing a health check on my Honda CRF250R. A normal health check on a motorcycle would be a compression test. It'll tell you a lot of things that you need to know, but an even more in-depth test is a leak down test. Truth be told, you can't even do a compression test on one of these bikes because there's an automatic decompression built in. If you try doing a compression test, you'll get inaccurate readings because the motorcycle automatically will pull a decompression valve. It's going to leak compression so it doesn't kick back at you. If you guys have not been keeping up with the channel or this particular bike, here's the reasons why I want to do this. Number one, I want to get the bike ready for a little bit of ice riding, get the tires studded up, all of that kind of stuff. But when I was riding dirt earlier this year with this bike, it would have some weird stalling issues, and a couple of times it would even bog down on me. The bogging issue kind of went away after I cleaned the fuel filter inside. I still am 50-50 whether this is a valving issue or whether it's a fueling issue.
What's
It'll start.
Dude, these damn Hondas. It's not funny anymore. It's becoming stressful. Maybe the plug is fouled. He's gonna try to bump start it. Oh, it worked. It actually worked.
But today we're going to be able to do a overall health check on the bike as well as determine if I do have a valve issue or a fuel issue. But if it's a valving issue and it's reading significantly out of spec, we got to pull the motor, we got to pull the valve, we got to redo the valves, and Honda valves are apparently known to stretch. The valves in this motorcycle were shimmed before I bought it from a shop, but apparently the actual valves stretch a little bit just over time, and that's one of the weak points of the Honda bikes is the valve system. So if I do have to do it, we might even do a piston at the same time as the bike is getting higher in the hours, around 75. I don't know if a piston's been done, so if we're there, we might just do it all. A leak down test tells us a number of things, whether we have a bad intake valve, exhaust valve, head gasket, or even if we have bad piston or piston rings. It does an overall health check on the engine, and I will show you guys how to determine what is bad and how to do the overall check. This is the first time I'm doing it, but it's a very basic understanding of how everything works. First things first, you need to get access to the spark plug, so that requires us to pull most of the plastics and the fuel tank off the bike.
I will also mention, if you're doing this for a health check and your bike runs properly, make sure to warm it up before you take everything apart. Obviously, my bike has trouble starting and running, so I'm doing it cold.
Now that we've got it down to this point, we have access to the spark plug here. I'm gonna blow this with air and clean off all the dirt and stuff. It's way too cold outside to give it a wash or anything like that. In some of the older models, there used to be a hole. It might be this hole right here, that if you blow air into it, it'll blow into the spark plug chamber there and just blow out all the dirt. I don't see any other place, so I'm just gonna try it. I think that's what that's for. And now we just pull the plug out of the engine.
What I'm gonna do is move this out of the way here, and I think that this should make, yep. Getting all the dirt and debris out of that hole, because obviously you don't want anything going into the engine itself. Now that that's done, I can pull the spark plug out. Spark plug itself looks a little corroded on the top here. Don't love that.
Now for the actual tester itself. I just picked up one from the local Harbor Freight. This one should do the trick from everything I see. There's some better quality ones out there that might be a little bit more accurate, but as far as all the fittings and everything, this one should have everything that we need. So I don't think you really need anything too fancy, especially if you're trying to see where the bike is leaking from. So the kit itself is comprised of a couple key parts. This is the main thing right here. This is the actual tester, what's gonna tell you the pressures on each side. One side is gonna say the pressure that's going in, and then one side should say the pressure that's held in the engine. The other thing is we got 3 fittings here. I believe this smallest one here should be the one we need for this engine. Hopefully I don't need another one. And then right here we have the actual hose. So this fitting here hooks up to the hose, and then we can hook this side up, and this will go into the engine, and this will pressurize the system. And this is the inlet here that we're gonna use with the compressor. But before we can attach all of this together, we gotta make sure a few things and head over to the bike. The main one is we need to put the bike to TDC, aka top dead center, on the compression stroke. So we're gonna have to open this up right here, but also we're gonna pop the radiator cap open so we can hear any hissing. For now, I'm just gonna leave it so we don't get any debris. I'm also going to open the engine oil dipstick and just leave it covered for now. But first things first, we need to open this right here because that is where the timing is, and it should help us find TDC on the compression stroke. So we will lose a little bit of oil, but we can see the timing marks. So when it's at the top of TDC, there should be a circle on one of these on the compression stroke. So I'm gonna turn the engine to find that. There's a couple of ways. You can kick it or you can use this right here. That's the ideal situation that you use that because you're gonna have to hold the engine anyways. So you can see right there, this notch right there should line up with that tooth. So that there is TDC on the compression stroke. I'm just gonna line it up perfectly, but you also have to make sure that you have something in there so when you pressurize the system, it doesn't kick it and it doesn't cause it to move around. You should have hex bits, but I need to invest in some clearly because I only have the key that fits in there. So you're supposed to let these motorcycles warm up, and some people might be saying that in the comment section that, you know, just because you want the bike to have all its tolerances at operating temperature, but this bike doesn't really want to get there, and I want to check the health of it cold before we go ahead, warm it up, and check it again. Because the big thing is, again, I think if it has a valving issue, we're going to hear it hissing very clearly. And if it doesn't have a valve issue and it's leaking very minorly, then we probably have a different issue. So what you want to do before any of this is, this has a knob that you pull out. You want to zero it out and then add pressure to it, because now if you turn this, it should pressurize itself. Like so. I'm gonna set this to 50 PSI here. You're not supposed to go over 100. 50 should just give us a good amount of pressure going into the engine. I have already opened the radiator cap. Just take the cap off. Take this out, oil dipstick. And the final thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open the air filter and just take it off. So now we can put the tester, which doesn't fit. Slight problem. This adapter does not work. It is too wide. I ran to a auto parts store and they had adapters, so I had to spend another $10 to get them, but it fit through. In hindsight, I probably could have grinded down the edges, but in the future, I might regret that decision, so for now, we got this to work. We have this set at 50, and it's actually held, so I believe I'm gonna click that in. In theory, I should just hook this up. At this part in the whole process, it would be super helpful if I had a second hand here, but I don't. So what that means is when I pressurize the cylinder, I have to do my very best to hold the engine here at TDC. How I'm gonna do that, don't know. Some bad news here. It is the valves, and we can hear it being the valves. So there's pressure running through, 50 PSI going in, and we have a leak, clearly. Now, because there's such a substantial leak, we might be a little off TDC here, but if I open the throttle body, you can hear pressure escaping, but you can also ever so slightly hear, you can also feel that there's a little exhaust leak. We definitely have a valve leak here. Luckily, Head gasket seems to be fine. And the piston also seems to be fine. Other things to look for when you're doing the test here, I still have the tester hooked up just because I am very disappointed. Now you're also looking for bubbles in the radiator here. If you have bubbles forming, that means you have a bad head gasket. If your bike has been smoking, if you're seeing blue smoke, which usually indicates oil, you can look inside right here and see whether your oil is bubbling or not. You should also be able to hear it. If it is bubbling, that means you need to replace your piston. It seems like my piston is fine because I do not hear or see any air getting into there, and it's completely cold. But when you do valves, it's a service item on these bikes to do the piston, so now I have to make an executive decision. I gotta pull the engine off the bike and figure out what we want to do. I'm going to triple check and confirm I did this correctly and have all the things lined up, but it seems based on me turning the engine even a little bit that the valves are bad. This was a likely scenario, but something I didn't want to quite accept because I wanted to ride the bike, but we're not even in a good enough place for the bike to be rode. It's basically like rebuild time. I should be able to get this bike if I really aggressively decide to go for it. I should be able to get the engine out, the valves ordered, the valves replaced, the engine back in the bike, all within 20 days or less. In all reality, before the holidays are over, I should have all the parts and everything I need. The question is, how much of it do I want to do myself now? But that's how you leak down test or compression test to see your valve health and engine health and everything like that. Unfortunately, the bike didn't even get close to passing. But the fortunate part is everything else seems to be fine, and the intake valves seem to be the worst of all of it. Honda valves are the biggest problem on these bikes. Known issue with Honda motorcycles and is that over the time, right? It's not like something that's immediate, like, oh my God, it has this big problem right away. It's when you ride it hard, these things are going to have its valves done. It shouldn't be too much money, shouldn't be too expensive. And if I do the piston and rings right away, I should have a fresh top end that should last me another 50 hours minimum. When I bought the bike, it ran really good. So my thinking is that it just slowly over the last like 15 hours here, the leak just became worse and worse and worse. And because the valves were shimmed and maybe not replaced altogether, trying to save some money, that the bike started to run more effectively, but eventually the tolerances are just out of whack. It's weird to me how good it ran when I bought it, and progressively it just got worse and worse. It must have just been like a thing where they were there, they could have done the valves, but they decided not to and skip a couple $100 worth of maintenance. I'm not sure if you can do that from the top because the cam has to come out anyways. Maybe you can, maybe you don't have to pull the whole head off, so it also saves some labor. Some not so fortunate news with my CRF here, but also it's not the end of the world. It's just a service. These bikes need that service around the 100-hour mark. Having a fresh, complete top end, I think, is what I will opt to do since the bike has 80 hours on it. The piston, by the looks of it, seems like it's been used and not replaced. So if I do decide to go there, hone out the barrel, put the new piston and rings in it, put new valves in it, since the engine, I think I'm gonna pull it anyways. With all that said, that's all I have for this one. If you guys did enjoy, subscribe, leave a like, comment down below what you think about all of this, and if you have any experience. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.